We hear lots of stories of how connecting people with a sense of purpose can be really transformational for them. Coming into a care home, people may not assume that they will be able to do things that connect with their own values and who they are and what's important to them. But finding ways to be able to support people to do that is a really important part of what care homes should be doing, because everyone has something to contribute. So identity and purpose are things that don't necessarily register as top priorities for providing good care, but they are actually fundamental to people having a really good experience when they come to live in a care home. We know that people can experience a great sense of loss when they move. A lot of that experience of loss is associated with not feeling that they're able to be the people who they were before they went in. And homes can do an awful lot to redress that imbalance by working over time to understand people and what makes a difference in their lives, and helping them to do the kind of things, to mix with the people who they want to mix with, to have the connections that they want to have, and to follow the interests that they want to follow.
Our approach starts at assessment. So when we do our assessment, we ask questions about who people are, what they did in their previous employments, about family members. Then what we also do is ask families to provide us with some sort of family history, where somebody was born, who their siblings were, about a family tree, about important places in somebody's life. So we build up a picture, going back to the Da Vinci painting, starts off at a sketch. So that all forms part of that sketch. And that becomes quite important when somebody has dementia, for example, because when somebody has dementia, they may go back to a person that they were 20, 30 years ago. And if they start talking about a place or a person that they had a relationship with, a friendship with 20, 30 years ago, if we've got an idea about who that might be through some information that we've gathered through our information gathering, then we will be able to help that person. In a previous care home, I had a gentleman who was a painter and decorator, and we had an old shed that needed painting. So he went out with my handyman, and he and the handyman painted the shed. The shed got painted on numerous occasions, but it gave him a sense of purpose, a sense of achievement. When he saw the shed had been painted, he was exceptionally happy, and that was lovely. We had a lady once who her dementia progressed, and she failed to recognise herself. So she used to have arguments with herself in front of a mirror. And we had pictures of each resident on their doors so they recognised where their room was. And she ceased to remember which was her room, and used to make her very frustrated. But she did recognise herself in her wedding photograph when she was about 23 years old, and she recognised that as being her. So what we did was we took a Photoshop of the photograph of her, blew it up, put that on her door, and she was happy.
One really good example of identity and purpose that I'm aware of is a lady who used to work as the manager of a cafe, and when she moved into the care home, she was used to working. She'd kind of worked beyond retirement, so she wasn't really into just doing activities and sitting around watching telly and things. So she spoke to the manager and said, what can I do that doesn't just involve joining in with the other activities? So he suggested that perhaps she'd become the dining room manager. So now she meets and greets all the other residents for breakfast, lunch and dinner, make sure that they're all seated before she tucks in, and then at the end of each meal she goes round and says, oh, did you enjoy your meal? Is everything okay? And then she actually, I think she takes feedback back to the chef as well if anyone said we didn't enjoy that. And now she feels like she's really part of the family down there. So
it's also important to not make too many assumptions about what's important to people based on what they might have done in the past. People's sense of identity changes over time, and coming into a care home may shift that quite significantly. So it's important for staff to be able to have nuanced conversations with people. Another aspect of identity, which is obviously really important, is people's sexual identity. and people coming from LGBTQ communities may have particular anxieties about moving into a care home and may be concerned about what other people's views and prejudices might be. So having an open and honest discussion about that early on and helping people to explore what the culture of a local home feels like is really important.